Welcome to everyone out there. We're getting ready for another reading out of the book of Psalms here. We're in Psalms number 76. These are by Asaph today, and they're really good. I want you to notice and be aware and be looking for those sentences that go right into prophecy, and others go back to the Alpha. They go back to the history. And so we get everything, past, present at that time, and in the future time. All in these great, beautiful psalms, prophecy, history, praise, prayer, put to music. So in 76 here we have a new paragraph mark, of course, to the chief musician on Negin-oth, a psalm or song of Asaph. In Judah is God known. His name is great in Israel, period. In Salem also is his tabernacle and his dwelling place in Zion. There brake he the arrows of the bow, the shield, and the sword, and the battle. Period. Selah. Period. All right, folks, be watching for it to go to the future prophecy here. For it says, Thou art more glorious and excellent than the mountains of prey. Period. The stout-hearted are spoiled. They have slept their sleep, and none of the men of might have found their hands. Period. Okay, now let's look there. They're asleep. Do they not have a strong delusion poured out on them? Are they not in darkness? In 6 it says, At thy rebuke, O God of Jacob, both the chariot and horse are cast into a dead sleep. Okay, and we know who death is involved with. Is that not involved with the Luciferian end, the people that are cursed by God? The dead sleep. That's out of the light into the darkness, eyes closed, hands over the ears. In 7, thou, even thou art to be feared, and who may stand in thy sight when once thou art angry? Question mark. And the answer is no one. In 8 it says, Thou didst cause judgment to be heard from heaven. The earth feared and was full. The earth feared and was still. Okay, now notice how he's in control there. He made everything come to a stop, or the conflicts come to a stop. In 9 it says, When God arose to judgment to save all the meek of the earth. Period. Selah. Period. Okay, now you see where that went right to the end times. In 10, surely the wrath of man shall praise thee. The remainder of wrath shall thou restrain. See how this is aimed right towards Judgment Day, folks. 11, vow and pay unto the Lord your God. Let all that be round about him bring presents unto him that ought to be feared. So there's the Feast of Tabernacles during the fulfillment time when Jesus Christ is reigning from the earth. In 12, he said, he shall cut off the spirit of princes. He is terrible to the kings of the earth. So there he is in total control, and he is getting that rod of iron out over the earth. Now in another Septuagint, which is a 77, 7, 70, 72, and 77. It says here, to the chief musician, to Jeduthun, a psalm of Asaph. And it starts, I cried unto the Lord with my voice, even unto God with my voice, and he gave ear unto me. In the day of my trouble I sought the Lord. My sore ran in the night, and ceased not. My soul refused to be comforted. Period. So he's cast down here. We are sounding more just like Job. In 3, I remembered God and was troubled. I complained, and my spirit was overwhelmed. Period. Selah. In 4 it says, thou holdest mine eyes waking. I am so troubled that I cannot speak. 5, I have considered the days of old, the days of ancient times. I call to remembrance my song in the night. I commune with mine own heart, and my spirit made diligent search. 7, will the Lord cast off forever? ? And will he be favorable no more? ? Is his mercy clean gone forever? ? Doth his promise fail forevermore? ? Hath God forgotten to be gracious? ? Hath he in anger shut up his tender mercies? ? Selah, period. 10, and I said, this is my infirmity, but I will remember the years of the right hand of the Most High. I will remember the works of the Lord. Surely I will remember the wonders of old. I will meditate also of all thy work, and talk of thy doings. 13, thy way, O God, is in the sanctuary. Who is so great a God as our God? ? And we know the answer to that, don't we? 14, thou art the God that doest wonders. Thou declarest thy strength among the people. Okay, and 15, thou hast with thine arm redeemed thy people, the sons of Jacob and Joseph, period. Selah, period. We know who the Redeemer is. 16, the waters saw thee, O God. The waters saw thee, they were afraid. The depths also were troubled, period. That goes right into dimensions that we are not privy to, are we? The water was fearing. And the water would do what? Obey. Okay? That Spirit of God, unsearchable. 17, the clouds poured out water. The sky sent out a sound. Thine arrows also went abroad. The voice of thy thunder was in the heaven, the lightnings lightened the world, the earth trembled and shook. Period. 19, thy way is in the sea, and thy path in the great waters, and thy footsteps are not known. Now we go to some history here out of Exodus. Thou leddest thy people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. And we know that Jesus Christ was in the burning bush, and he was in the whirlwind. And on we go into 78. And we still have this mass chill of Asaph. Okay, and he's talking to his people here. That was with a new paragraph mark. Give ear, O my people, to my law. There's the doctrine, folks, capital L. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. Once again, words of his mouth, and then written here. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. And for we will not hide them from their children, shewing to the generation to come the praises of the Lord, and his strength and his wonderful works that he hath done. So those are to be passed down verbally and through written word. History and future prophecies are to be shared too. 5, it says, for he established a testimony, capital T, in Jacob, and appointed a law, capital L, in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children. That's one of the reasons world government wants to, one of the reasons, to tear the family apart. In 6, it says, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children. 7, it says, that they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments. Period. Capital C, doctrine. In 8, it says, and might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that set not their heart aright, and whose spirit was not steadfast with God. 9, the children of Ephraim, being armed and carrying bows, turned back in the day of battle. They kept not the covenant of God, and refused to walk in his law, and forgot his works and his wonders that he had shewed them. Okay, so this is a recipe for disaster. This must be in reference to their going to the calf. 12, it says, marvelous things did he in the sight of their fathers, in the land of Egypt, in the field of Zoan. 13, he divided the sea and caused them to pass through, and he made the waters to stand as an heap. And 14, in the daytime also he led them with a cloud, and all the night with a light of fire. That was Jesus Christ doing that. 15, he clave the rocks in the wilderness, and gave them drink as out of the great depths. 16, he brought streams also out of the rock, and caused waters to run down like rivers. And they sinned yet more against him by provoking the Most High in the wilderness, when they tempted God in their heart by asking meat for their lust. Period. 19, yea, they spake against God. They said, can God furnish a table in the wilderness? Wow. Question mark. And 20, behold, he smote the rock that the waters gushed out, and the streams overflowed. Can he give bread also? Question mark. Can he provide flesh for his people? Question mark. 21, therefore the Lord heard this and was wroth. So a fire was kindled against against Jacob, and anger also came up against Israel. 22, because they believed not in God, and trusted not in his salvation. 23, though he had commanded the clouds from above, and opened the doors of heaven, and had rained down manna upon them to eat, and had given them of the corn of heaven. Corn of heaven, folks. 25, man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. He caused an east wind to blow in the heaven, and by his power he brought in the south wind. Okay, now he's given us all these things God did while there should be no point in ever doubting. 27, he rained flesh also upon them as dust, and feathered fowls like as the sand of the sea. Period. 28, and he let it fall in the midst of their camp, round about their habitations. Period. So they did eat, and were well filled, for he gave them their own desire. They were not estranged from their lust, but while their meat was yet in their mouths. 31, the wrath of God came upon them, and slew the fattest of them, and smote down the chosen men of Israel. For all this they sinned still, and believed not for his wondrous works. 33, therefore their days did he consume in vanity, and their years in trouble. 34, then he slew them, then they sought him, and they returned and inquired early after God. So he got their attention now. And they remembered that God was their rock, and the high God their Redeemer. 36, the number of black keys on the keyboard, folks. 6 sixes. Nevertheless, they did flatter him with their mouth, and they lied unto him with their tongues. For their heart was not right with him, neither were they steadfast in his covenant. 38, but he, being full of compassion, forgave their iniquity and destroyed them not. Yea, many a time turned he his anger away and did not stir up all his wrath. For he remembered that they were but flesh, a wind that passeth away, and cometh not again. Notice the wind there, folks. Notice the wind. We've been over the spiritual aspect to the wind. And 40, how oft did they provoke him in the wilderness and grieve him in the desert? ? Yea, they turned back and tempted God and limited the Holy One of Israel. See, because he's not going to do for them. When they have their lack of faith and they turn their back, so now he's not going to move. Isn't that a shame? And 42, the number of months in the great tribulation, times and half a time, they remembered not his hand, nor the day when he delivered them from the enemy. How he had wrought his signs in Egypt and his wonders in the field of Zoan, and had turned their rivers into blood and their floods that they could not drink. And they turned their rivers into blood and their floods that they could not drink. 45, he sent diverse sorts of flies among them, which devoured them, and frogs, which destroyed them. 46, he gave also their increase unto the caterpillar, and their labor unto the locust. 47, he destroyed their vines with hail, and their sycamore trees with frost. He gave up their cattle also to the hail, and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. 49, 7 sevens. He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath and indignation and trouble, by sending evil angels among them. And he will do this in our time during the tribulation, so we have to pay attention to these judgments, because the Lord uses them over, and he will use them again in the last days. 50 is a number of Jubilee year. He made a way to his anger. He spared not their soul from death, but gave their life over to pestilence. Period. And we got to be looking for those pestilence today. We've been getting them, haven't we? And smote all the firstborn in Egypt, the chief of their strength, and the tabernacles of Ham. Okay, now listen, the Satanists are still angry over this incident. They hated Moses, they hate God, they call him Adonai, and they hate him, and they still pine away over this and believe that Lucifer is going to get the revenge for this act. It's very interesting. 52, but made his own people to go forth like sheep, and guided them in the wilderness like a flock, and he led them on safely, so that they feared not, but the sea overwhelmed their enemies. 54, and he brought them to the border of his sanctuary, even to this mountain which his right hand had purchased. 55, he cast out the heathen also before them, and divided them an inheritance by line, and made the tribes of Israel to dwell in their tents. Yet they tempted and provoked the Most High God, and kept not his testimonies, but turned back and dealt unfaithfully like their fathers. They were turned aside like a deceitful bow. Okay, so there they are. No faith and deceit is in their bosom, isn't it? In 58, for they provoked him to anger with their high places, and moved him to jealousy with their graven images. And if you've been in these podcasts, we went through this religion over and over and over, and what all it involved. I'm not going to bog down here. We'll be over it again, okay? In 59, when God heard this, he was wroth, and greatly abhorred Israel, so that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent which he placed among them, and delivered his strength into captivity, his glory into the enemy's hand. So there they go. To where? Well, there they go to Babylon. You say, well, listen, we don't know when this was written. But no matter when it was written, it could have been written 200 years before Babylon. It doesn't matter in this book. Everything's timeless, and we got to remember that. And this could be totally prophecy, or it could be history here, depending on when this was written. It doesn't matter, because there's plenty of both here, history and prophecy. You tell me, folks. Let's read on. So he gave in 61 and his glory into the enemy's hand. In 62 he gave his people over also unto the sword, and was wroth with his inheritance. 63, the number of generations from Adam to Christ. The fire consumed their young men, and their maidens were not given to marriage. Their priests fell by the sword, and their widows made no lamentation. Then the Lord awaked as one out of sleep, and like a mighty man that shouteth by reason of wine. And he smote his enemies in the hinder parts. He put them to a perpetual reproach. Period. 67, moreover, he refused the tabernacle of Joseph, and chose not the tribe of Ephraim, but chose the tribe of Judah, the Mount Zion which he loved. So that's going right to Christ there, isn't it? And he built his sanctuary like high places, a place of renown, like the earth which he hath established forever. 70, he chose David also his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds. 71, from following the ewes great with young, he brought him to feed Jacob his people, and Israel his inheritance. So there you just went to some prophecy undercurrent there. And 72 is a Septuagint. It is the number of 72,000 square furlongs. It is a Septuagint. So here we went through a bunch of history, and we also went through prophecy here, because this David thing and the fulfilling of all things is coming up in our time. I mean, look here. He says in 70, he chose David also his servant and took him from the sheepfolds. Okay? So that's from herding the sheep back in the sheep pens and all that. 71, from following the ewes great with young, he brought him to feed Jacob his people and Israel his inheritance. And how's he going to do that? Is that not going to be with Yahshua, Jesus Christ? 72, so he fed them according to the integrity of his heart, and guided them by the skillfulness of his hands. So there you are. We got one in here today, and I hope you're going on. I think that's pretty plain without a whole lot of commentary. I think that people have been following here. Do you think we were lacking commentary in that? No, it's pretty plain. So there it is. Enjoy. We're enjoying reading it. So I'll catch you on the next one here at the table. Bye-bye.